Welcome to the 30-minute hour. It's the personal development podcast for the seven-figure entrepreneur who's looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. Now, my co-host and partner in crime, Ted Fells, he'll be joining us uh, any minute now. He's wrapping up a meeting. But today, we're going to be talking about how to get discovered for a life-changing opportunity. And our guest has done a lot of impressive things in the music industry. She's been able to separate herself in a very crowded field. And I think this is significant because we have a lot of business owners and business leaders, and whatever you do, it's a crowded field as well. It's not like you're the only one attempting to do what you do. So there'll be a lot of good lessons today when you hear our guest story and some of the experiences she's had and all of that. So we're going to talk about it. And I know that's a question too, like how do I get discovered? How do I get that opportunity that's going to just change my life and take me to that next place? So we'll unpack that today. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest for the moment. She has been described by President Joe Biden as having the voice of an angel. She's an acclaimed international jazz vocalist who has an impressive resume as a performing artist, musical educator, songwriter, producer, musical theater actress, radio host, business owner, and artist in residence with over 30 years of experience. She's had the honor of working with many notable artists, and it's a lot. I mean, a lot of names that you would know. Just to give you an example, Yolanda Adams, Regina Belle, Eric Benet, Will Downing, Walter Hawkins, and Derrick Gardner. Here's our two really key facts you need to know about our guest. She is a graduate of Hampton University, and she's a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Shout out to the Deltas. Please join me in welcoming to the 30-minute hour, Lori Williams.
Thank you so much. And the crowd goes wild, right?
And the crowd goes wild. There you go. All right. Well, welcome. Thank you. This is truly an honor to have you on the show.
It's my honor. Thank you.
And congratulations just on all the success that you've had in your career, not just on the stage, but in education and being an inspiration to the youth that you've taught. I'm just curious, like if I were able to time travel and go back to Hampton University and tell you that, hey, you know what, you're going to be working with Will Downing, you're going to be doing this, would you have believed me?
No, you know what? I'm going to say I probably would have. I'm going to tell you why, because I believe in divine order and I believe in God's favor and I trust him for things to happen. The people that I've been exposed to, I don't know if I would have thought about those names, but I would have tried to aspire for greatness. And that's what Hampton does. It makes you want to level up, right? It makes you want to believe, attain those wonderful dreams that you have. So the vast number of people and, incredible artists that I've worked with, I don't believe that I would have thought I would have come in close contact with them in that capacity, but to know the God that I serve, yeah, I'm grateful. And they're people. They're just like you and me. So that's the bottom line. They put the pants on just like we do and they eat like we do, but they've had opportunity. And that's one of the things that I hope to kind of tap into today to talk about just how opportunity separates us from, different levels. It's just about opportunity and exposure.
Opportunity and exposure. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to really unpacking this. I do want to give people kind of the backdrop. So you started singing in church, right, at a young age. So I'm just like, when did you know that, okay, you know what, I have a gift, I have something that can really be my thing that I do? When did you know that?
I was in a choral group called the Angelic Voices at Bethlehem Baptist Church in Washington, D.C. That's where I first started singing with a lot of other, young children. But when I got to St. Thomas More, off of, I believe, 4th Street in Southwest, I believe, or so, is it Southeast? Probably Southeast still, the quadrant. But I was there, and I remember the song I sang. I remember the dress my mom sewed for me, God rest her soul. I remember the response, the positive response from the crowd. And that's when the light was like, oh, that's what's going to happen. You're going to be a singer. And that's what I always wanted to do from the time I was singing You Light Up My Life at St. Thomas More, wearing a blue eyelet dress that my mom sewed for me. I remember. And it was just the wonderful accolades from people. Oh, you sound so good. Applause, applause, applause. That felt good. And so that's all I ever wanted to do. Didn't want to do anything else. What do you want to be when you grow up? A singer. That was my answer.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So Ted Fells, my co-host, the super CEO, is now joining us. Ted, meet Lori Williams.
What's up?
All right. How you doing?
Hey.
Sorry, I was running a little late, but
it's all good. I was telling Eric that I just got off a plane, so I'm feeling it a little bit too. I had a gig last night, so yeah, I'm here though.
Pleasure to meet you.
So Lori, Ted is a Norfolk State Spartan.
It's all good.
Mm-hmm. Right, that's right. Behold.
He went to school. That's a good thing.
There you go. There you go. So we're getting the backstory for Lori and how she's gotten to this point. So what role did your time at Hampton play in you becoming who you are now?
A big role. It was everything. So I was exposed to an Omega man by the name of Robert Ransom, who was head of the Jazz Studies Department at Hampton University, and Effie Gardner, who happens to be Derrick Gardner's mom. And she was a professor at Hampton at the time. And she had a vocal jazz group, and I auditioned for it. And I also took Pop Ransom's class. And those two amazing professors gave me the foundational support that I needed to become who I am today. And I attribute the gift to God, but the foundation to them, because they really nurtured me when I was at Hampton. And that's when I decided that I wanted to be in this particular field.
Okay. And I understand. So you were you worked at WHOV and the jazz program director and all that good stuff too, right?
That's right. I was a jazz program director at WHOV FM. That was my first kind of gig. And then from there, I did other radio stints. And I have a radio show now. It's called Collector's Choice with Lori Williams on Jazz Radio WETF.org. And it streams. So I produce it right here at this desk and send it off every week. And I do all of my favorite collections of contemporary and traditional jazz with a twist, adding some female vocals in there as well. So,
excellent, excellent. So like, if you could go back and time travel, go back to the time when you were at Hampton and give advice to yourself, like what advice would you give to that younger version of yourself, knowing what you know now?
I would probably say to continue to study. Your dreams don't stop, because after college, I lived in Japan for a long time, so I didn't go from Hampton University to gain my master's, which is what I've applied down here to Georgia State to be able to apply for a music master's program in music for music and master's in music. But don't stop studying. And then also, I would say, don't listen to the naysayers, because a lot of people can probably try to discourage you from what even your family might say, that's not what you should be doing. Or I think you should try to pursue this because it's going to pay this, or but if that's not your passion or your heart's desire, then you need to really kind of listen to those things and not to the naysayers, those people that would discourage you from pursuing your dreams.
So that's interesting. You were getting a lot of discouragement in those days?
I'm going to tell you, my degree at Hampton was in mass media arts communication. So yes, as an African-American woman who's chocolate in nature, back then, we weren't on we were not the face of the news. I have natural hair. That's not the face of the news. It's a different kind of vibe. You know what I mean? They have a certain look that they want. So they put me in radio. And radio was where I could be behind the scenes. Nobody could see me. And that can really mess with somebody. I think your self-esteem, you're comparing yourself to others, and it's all of that kind of stuff comes into play. But for me, I felt that I had a gift, and so I wanted to be in the public eye. So if I couldn't do it on a television screen as far as an anchor, then as a singer, I could definitely do it. So I went to Trinity College to get music courses under my belt, as well as I had some at Hampton, and then I went to the University of the District of Columbia so that I could be able to teach music in DC public schools.
Okay, all right, and then you would go on to perform on Showtime at the Apollo.
That was Hampton. Yes.
Tell us about that. That's a very interesting backstory as far as how that came to pass. Tell us about that.
Okay, so you mentioned I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, but before that, I was an Omega sweetheart for the Gamma Epsilon chapter at Hampton University, and I am their little sister to this day, to the brothers of Omega Psi Phi. And so the big brothers found out that there was an audition that was happening in New York. Moses Edinburgh lived in New York, and so I took the train up there and did the audition, and I didn't get booed off. And they had a listening party and a watch party for me when I got back to campus when it was time to air, which was really, really cool. And following that, I did the Budweiser Showdown and came in second place. So it was all of those wonderful opportunities that happened that showed that I had the support from the brothers who really looked out for me. And to this day, they still call me their little sister. So I'm really, really grateful to them for urging me and pushing me to go forward and do those types of things. The Showtime is cool, and there's a clip of it on YouTube.
So the Sandman was there and everything, huh?
Crazy. Ricky Aviles was the host. He's no longer living. So it's a lot of beautiful history right at that. I rubbed that, that rock, the whole thing. It was really a cool experience for an 18, 19-year-old girl to get up on that stage and do that. But I was just saying, just last night I performed at the Hampton Convention Center, and the same kind of energy, nervousness that I felt, it happens every time I perform, because you look out to that sea of people who some have never seen you before, don't know what you're going to do. Are you going to perform? Excuse me. And you want to be able to give a good representation, And especially if you're on a festival bill, there are a lot of other artists who sing well, perform well, and they're coming to see them. So you want to be able to give a good show. So every time I perform, I feel like I'm right back at that Apollo stage trying to give it my best and not get, sand off.
So Laura, I have a question for you. If you look at, all these digital platforms that we have today and social media and all of that, if you could go back to, I guess, when you started, your career, right, in music, like, how would you have been able to leverage some of the things that could be done that are being done today?
Well, I appreciated the time we had before, because it was you had to have a personal approach to distributing your music. I mean, I remember making copies of my music on cassette tapes and sending them off to different people and packaging them up on cassette, copying. That was a big deal. You know what I mean? And trying to mail them out to someone and actually try to get a response. It wasn't like you could just call somebody up and speak to them directly. It was, word of mouth or by mail or going to see them in person. And I think it just gave you much more of dedication and purpose to try to do it. Right now, with digital streaming and having technology the way it is, it's an easier approach because you can do things in mass as far as like composite, putting things together. But I feel the personal touch has been lost a little bit because it's now email. I'm not looking at you directly. I appreciate if I can Zoom with someone or talk to them on the phone or see them in person. But I was saying earlier offline that I thought it would be kind of cool to see what would have happened for the Ella Fitzgeralds and the Sarah Vaughns and those people who were not so well known that we don't know about, who didn't make it to their level. If they had the ability to have this kind of technology, would they have utilized it? Will we be able to see more, like how right now it's the field of music is so broad, it's hard to kind of get your toe into it and who's going to see you and know you, because there's hundreds of thousands of people who can sing circles around you or who could play better than you or who could do it. So you have to really push and I'm on every form of social media and I'm teetering with X just for personal reasons, but as an independent artist, I need that platform just like everybody else. I don't have a backing of a major label, so I have to be in the face of everyone and try to leverage and not kind of muddy the waters with a political view. I need to be able to be there to speak my piece of my music and through my music to the masses, and I need social media.
It's interesting. And again, we were talking about this backstage. This is something that I've always thought about. Every church that I go to, there's somebody who can really sing. Like they sound better than the people you hear on the radio.
That's true.
But their career, no one's ever going to know their name. And so what is it that what is it that separates that person who sounds great, but nobody's ever going to know? And they may even have a dream where they want to be at your level where the president's talking about their singing. What separates that person from the person who gets discovered and is a household name? What are some of the differences?
I'm going to go into the same thing I said before, opportunity and exposure. And back to the same thing, because even when if you had told me the year before that happened that I was going to be at the Capitol, U.S. Capitol, singing "Oh Freedom" in front of President, at the time he was Vice President Biden, and in front of all of the dignitaries who were on the platform, if you would have told me that, I'm like, okay, I didn't foresee that. I would have wanted that. Or if you would have told me I would have sung the national anthem at a basketball game at Howard's campus, and the president, Obama and Michelle Obama and her family were there to see her brother. Who would know that this would happen? But that's opportunity. I'm grateful for God's favor and exposure. So when people say, Lori, can you do a gig? Can you do this? And they don't always give you all of the details because, somebody like me, I'm a little excited about something. Like I'm ready to get on the phone and say, hey, guess who's going to be there? No, you got to protect yourself. So a lot of times it's where they'll say, or I've done the cruises, the Capitol Jazz Cruise, and I've sung background for a lot. George Duke, Stanley Clark. So I've had opportunities to be around a lot of great people. But if someone hadn't heard me sing or know my ability, know the fact that I'm able to do the job and do it well and do my job and not be so in the mix. Like of course I want to elevate, but I'm not trying to step on toes and try to pass out. Hey, can you get me a gig? I got to do the gig. I have to be business minded. I have to be forthright. I have to be virtuous. I have to be respectful. I'm not trying to hang out after the party and do those things. I'm there to do a job. And so I think it's about my upbringing. I think it's about making sure that I do a good job on the job and the opportunities present themselves. And I always ask God to present wonderful opportunities. And He's presented some incredible, phenomenal, unbelievable experiences that I've had.
That's awesome. So tell us about a couple of moments, maybe where you went, maybe it was a small venue, but it really opened the door and maybe somebody referred you for something else and it was kind of a game changer for you. Tell us about some of those moments.
I'll give you one. I've been traveling overseas to Europe for the past 13 years. And so every summer I do a festival called the Poisdorf Jazz and Wine Festival. It's in a place called Niederösterreich, which is Lower Austria, and they speak German. I never thought I'd be in a place, I never thought I would need to have the language of German. I studied French in school. And the gentleman found me, who's the owner of this particular festival, found me on a clip on YouTube. and reached out to me. At the time, it was on Skype. And he said, you know, I'm reaching out to you, and he mentioned his name. Can I please Skype you and explain what my festival is all about? And I'm like, just a little hesitant, you know what I mean? Because I don't know the person, don't know the language, don't know what to expect. And I've never had this experience before. But something said, trust this particular situation. I went ahead and did the Skype. And then I asked him if I go on this particular tour, can I bring my daughter? Because I didn't want to go independently at first. I wanted to have somebody with me. And he paid for me and my daughter to spend a week and a half in Austria, put us up in a beautiful bed and breakfast kind of situation, all expenses paid. I had to go over there to perform and teach the lessons. And it was from that moment on, I found myself trying to learn the language a little bit, you know, just English and just speaking a little bit. And then each year I've been going back, except for 1 year I didn't go because I was under the weather due to a wonderful pandemic. You know what I mean? So, but I've been going back and forth to Austria. I just recorded there this past summer, and the record with these guys who I've known now for 13 plus years is scheduled to be released next year. So that opportunity led to another opportunity. The band that's in Austria, we had a gig in Vienna, Austria. A man was in the audience and he says to me, I love what you do. Can you come to Switzerland? That next year, I'm in Switzerland. From there, someone saw the video that I did in Switzerland and asked me if I could do a tour in Russia. This is before the war. I did Russia and Ukraine. And some of those places don't even exist in Ukraine anymore where I performed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah,
opportunity, exposure, and presenting yourself in a way that is honorable, professional, and just doing your job. And I mean, I study and continue to study the new music and theory, and I'm trying to be elevated above what other people are doing, so that I can be a good ambassador for the culture of music and for jazz as well as for people.
Yeah. So my takeaway from what you just said is that, you know, somebody's always watching and you just never know. And that you just have to always,
that's an overstatement. And that's so true. You never know, for the good and the bad. Nobody, because we're not perfect, right? Somebody's always watching you. Matter of fact, I'll tell you, and I don't call it negative. I will say I call any situation a grow and a glow. So I went to the festival. I'm backstage. The guy says, "Yeah, I remember you. You're Southeast, right?" He said, "Yeah, you stepped to somebody who wasn't treating somebody else right." And I thought to myself, "Whoa, he wasn't even in the conversation." I don't like when people mistreat women or young people. I'm really protective, and I don't know how I don't even remember the approach. But after that, he asked me where was I from. He said because he had never seen anybody defend someone the way I did. And I said, originally from Washington, D.C. He said, "Oh, I'm from D.C." He said, "What part?" I said, "Southeast." And he's like, "Oh, and we started talking about where we're from, you know. And this year, he said, "Yeah, you're the South." He said, "Southeast girl." I was like, "Yes, I'm from Southeast."
Yeah.
You never know who's watching you. Yeah.
And it sounds, I mean, your faith is a big part of this, because you're just open that, you know, hey, God's on my side. Anything is possible. I just need to go out and perform.
Undeniable. That's my affirmations, meditation, scripture, faith. That's how I was raised. And my parents are no longer here. And I try to instill that. My children are my son is almost 18. My daughter is a grown woman. So I've tried to instill those values and try to live by them as well. And like I said, I'm not perfect, but I want to be able to represent him in a way that he would be pleased wherever I am, in the interview, in the show, in my travels, and to be that ambassador that's going to be looked at as virtuous and honorable, and someone who can handle her music. That's kind of what I want to do. Yeah. And I've done that with my students when I taught 27 years. My kids, They still call me mom. I had to build that relationship with high school students because I was of the mindset when I taught, it's now called Jackson Reed High School, but it was Wilson High School when I taught there, that yes, I don't replace, and I said this in every meeting, parent-teacher meeting, I don't replace the parent, but while they're there with me for the majority of the day, they need to have that mother figure. They need to have that auntie, that big sister. They need to have that person who they can come to. And my room was that space for students to come where they felt safe, nurtured, and loved. Because when you get to high school, you can't just stop. You can't turn it off. They still need the nurture and love that they had when they were in elementary school and in middle school. So why do we stop when we're in high school or college? They still need that guidance. They're still developing. And I was a firm believer that was important.
That's great. That's great. So I'm curious, what role has failure played in your success?
So as I mentioned before, I would say setback. I don't like the term so much as failure. And even when I teach my online students, I teach voice as well. Everybody can be a critic, and be critical about what you do right or wrong, But the grows and glows of life. When I say grow, what could you do to improve? What could you do to make yourself better? And the glows, what did you like about what you did? You have to like something about yourself, how you sound, how you work, how you move, what you do, what is your purpose? And so I've had some setbacks, but I am grateful that those setbacks have been minimal to the point where they are doors that are closed to only advance bigger and better doors that have come before me. That's if a door is closed, it's purposefully closed. If an opportunity happens where it's not successful in man's eye, there's something better that's meant for you. That's what I firmly believe. And yeah, you'll feel bad about it in the moment, but the bigger picture for me is what is ahead, what's down the road, what do I expect? And I have great expectations for my life, for my children's life, for the people who I tutor and work with. We all have setbacks, but we can't stay there.
Yeah, I heard something that the other day that said that the word "no" stands for next opportunity.
There you go. Right? That's what's up. I like that. I'm gonna steal that one.
Now, this is very inspiring because, like I said, we have entrepreneurs who are listening and watching, and rejection, setbacks. That's just a part of the journey. So I think it's critical to have the right perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the teaching. I know you taught initially at Thompson Elementary, right? That was kind of your
research. What? Oh goodness, you went back. Let me tell you, those were my babies. So I taught at Thompson Elementary School and had some of those same students when I taught at Wilson High School. So to have them in second and third grade and then have them in 9th, 10th, 11th, come on. That was a beautiful, and that's why they call me Mom, because I was there for them, feeding them in the morning, taking them out to lunch, bringing them home, taking them to Hampton for college visits, talking to their teachers when their parents couldn't talk to them. Yeah, the word teacher to me is I was a mentor, instructor, nurturing person, surrogate mom at the school. Teacher, they taught me stuff. So I would tell my choir all the time, you can't have a good choir without a good choir director. And I can't be a good choir director without a good choir. So we both needed each other. Yeah. So, teaching, that's to be a masterful teacher. My mother, God rest her soul, was a masterful teacher. She loved doing lesson plans. My daughter is a masterful teacher. I loved the part about being personable and finding out what made them tick. What did they want? Because there's no two students alike, even if they're twins. They're not alike. they have different mindsets and goals, and their purposes have to be different. Some are similar, but their paths are different. And at that particular moment in time, when I was a teacher in school, I treasure all of those moments. I mean, really, I can't think about even the times when I had to chastise the students. I felt like I was really like, no, you're going to do this right. And if they didn't do their homework in another class and I'm seeing it on their report card, what are you doing? You're singing with me, but you're failing this. Come on, we got to get it together. Yeah. I loved it. I loved being around them. And when I left, it was time for me to leave because I'm going to figure out how to say this. You know, we didn't have the autonomy in the classroom like we did when I was first coming up. We sometimes our hands were tied where we couldn't say certain things. We couldn't, and there were a lot of our students were going through a lot of different experiences that they didn't want us to step into and be involved. I had students who were questioning their sexuality. There were students who were being abused at home. There were students who had criminal backgrounds. And I'm like, how could you not want to be involved with them? You're with them all day long. And so what is your purpose? So I question those people who take on the role of teaching who really don't want to nurture and be a part of the students' full life. That's important to be there, to be immersed in who they are and to really, really care. And you don't find a lot of people who really, really care about getting a paycheck. And it's not, that shouldn't be your goal if you're going into education. You should be there to try to develop great minds and help them to pursue their dreams and passions. And that's really what I still try to do with the students who I work with today.
Let me ask this question about, when you're around students, it's almost like I'm thinking about sometimes there's in sports, right? There's a coach that sees a player and he or she is just a natural.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they're just like, everything comes easy. It seems like they can just shoot and make every shot. That every time the ball is pitched, they can hit it. I mean, they're just a natural. I'm sure there's been situations where there were students that was just like they didn't even have to try. I mean, I've seen like even in church where you'll see some really young people that they just get the mic and like, you must have been here before. Like, how in the world are you singing like that? And you're 7, right? Like you haven't been through enough to be singing like
right.
Can you tell us about a situation like that?
I was tougher on those kids, much tougher, and they knew it because. And I remember one student in particular. I had some really great child prodigies in my experience, and I had one student, and I would give them assignments to perform. We would have assignments we would perform in the class, and I knew she could do it, but she didn't put the effort into it. And I lit into her something like, this is something you have to be able to invest your time and your energy into. Do not squander your talent. It will be taken away from you. You got to be able to invest. And to this day, she's performing professionally. I've had other artists, like Ari Lennox was in my class. I've had Nick Hakim, who's a performer, Thomas White, who's a choreographer. I've had Britt Paris, McMillan, who's an opera singer. I've been blessed with incredible, phenomenal voices. And the trick that I had to fix within myself is to not have like teachers' pets, because that's easy to do, especially if they're phenom. They're like, I would have like private concerts in these kids were so, wow. It was hard to contain it, but I couldn't let them know.
Laura, I think some of my teachers gave up on me too early. I think that I think I was a phenom in the making, Laura, but they didn't pour enough into me, Laura, and so now I'm doing podcasts and IT stuff. But I think I could have. There's so much more I can do. So if you're still willing to work with maybe a little older student, then maybe we could.
I have a student who's 73, I think. So
wow.
I have a private voice student, and who I've done youngest 7, and as old as about 73. But I mean, I figured that there's a talent. Everybody can sing, I believe. It's a matter of tapping into how to effectively use your gift and where to actually, like breathing techniques, and it's all of those types of things you got to kind of work into, diction, articulation, those types of things. But I'll tell you this: I had a teacher who, and I wasn't even going to mention it, but I mean, I'll say it now, who did not believe in me. And I vowed that I would not be like her because I felt that she didn't see me and she would see someone else and elevate them to roles that I would think that I could do, and she didn't think I was good enough. And when someone that you put a lot of value into makes you feel that, and you doubt yourself, so then it makes you question why do you put your value in that person? And when you're young, you can't really differentiate that. But as an adult, I always wanted my students, my children, to feel like I believed in them and I supported them. And that's hard because we don't always know the path that people are going to take. You don't know. You could be the difference in someone's life, and you could also be the one that breaks them. And a lot of teachers have broken a lot of people. Very sad and disheartening.
That's true. Yeah. You strike me as someone who could see things in the students that they at the time couldn't see in themselves.
Like I said, I believe, and I'm not a prophet. I just believe it was a spiritual journey for me to be in education. I was there for the right time. I was there for a purpose, and was not trained to deal with the things that I was dealing with. I don't think that those, like when you're in a classroom learning certain things about what you're doing, unless you're actually involved in it, nobody teaches you about personal communication when you're dealing with somebody who's got an ankle bracelet, petty theft. Really cool kid, and always wanted to hang out in my classroom. I'm like, dude, you've got to go to another class. So why is it that another teacher doesn't see you or, see your heart, know your capabilities, or trust that you can be better? And why do we always want to make you out to be a criminal and put you in a system, take you to in-school suspension? And I was rescuing kids left and right because I'm like, no, they can come and hang with me.
Okay. This is awesome. We're here with the jazz vocalist extraordinaire, Lori Williams. So Lori, let's talk about your current music, talk about things you have coming up right now. Because now people, they've gone on Google, they've listened to you, and they're like, oh my goodness, how do I get more from Lori? So tell us all about it.
They can visit my website, and it's LoriJazz.com is right there. You can see LoriJazz.com. There it is. So you can be able to find me there, and you can find out about my bio, my schedule. I have some photos on there. It'll link you to some music videos that I have, and you can even reach out to me personally if you're interested into finding out about my voice lessons that I have. But I also have another website, which is positivemusicpm.org. So it stands for Positive Music for Positive Minds. And it developed when I was a teacher in the DC public school systems. And now I do it around the world and teach young students about the importance of lyrical content.
Fantastic. That's positivemusicpm.org. Yep. We'll include that in the show notes, and definitely people need to be following you and listening to your music and going to your concerts and all of that good stuff. All right, fantastic. So we're at the final part of the show. This is Ted's favorite part, Lori. It's called Write This Down.
Okay.
This is where we each go around and we leave at least one idea, one takeaway from today's episode that we feel like the people need to write down so they can level up. Okay. So Lori, you're our guest of honor. What do you think people need to write down from today's episode?
Well, I haven't even said it yet. But this is my saying: words are powerful. Speak wisely.
Mm.
I say that, have it written on merchandise and everything. Words are powerful. Speak wisely. You have to know how to read a room and know when to say something and when not to say something, and understand the impact that your words can have in any situation.
Words are powerful. Speak wisely.
Mm-hmm.
And that is true.
Yeah.
Very true. Write that down. All right. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, Ted.
Just listening to all of this, I feel like you have to, you want to find, something that you're passionate about. You want to find what your thing is, right? And just this short amount of time that, we've been with you, Laura, I can tell that this is your passion, right? Your passion is your music. Your passion is teaching your music and all of that. And I just think that you have to find. Everyone should want to find that thing, right? That thing that that you'd be willing to do for free. Not that you want to do it for free, but you'd be willing to do it for free. And I really believe that, and so much so that I'm going to call you. I'm going to have you work with me because I think there's still an opportunity for me out there. I just need the right person to back me. I think all my instructors that I had, they gave up on me too soon. They got choir, choir directors, all county chorus and stuff in elementary. They gave up on me too early. And I just believe you would not give up on me. So I'm gonna reach out to you and see when you have some you may have some time for me. But I just think you got to find your thing and go after it. And I think that's what I get.
Ted, there's still hope.
There's still hope. There's still hope.
All right. So my contribution to this is just kind of goes back to that opportunity. You just have to be ready for that opportunity, and I think you just have to treat I think you just have to treat every opportunity like it's the White House,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's easy. Let's say you're gonna. I can relate this to the speaking world, right? Sometimes you're doing a small venue, and the turnout wasn't what the meeting planner said it was going to be. But it's been, for me, it's been some of those types of events where I've gotten opportunities. Mm. And the events where I could have easily just said, I'm just going to mail it in, do what I always do. But I just happened to pour into the audience that day. And then someone says, oh, hey, you could talk to my group over here. And I think that's always a test. So I think you just have to treat every opportunity like it's the opportunity you want.
Wow.
Because you just never know.
You never know.
You never know who's watching. You never know who's in the audience.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm treating this opportunity the way that I'm treating it. Right? I haven't given up on this singing career, Eric. I mean,
right. It's still possible. I'm like, go ahead, Lori.
It's still possible. We'll see what happens.
You go.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, good stuff. So again, this has been a fantastic episode of the 30-Minute Hour podcast. Lori, thank you for everything that you've shared and the inspiration that you provided. And I know we've said this before, but I want to give everybody another opportunity to connect with your music, to get on your website. So again, please let everybody know the best ways that they can connect with you.
They can actually find me at laurijazz.com. And you can also follow me, please, on all streaming sites. My music is everywhere. And check out my videos on YouTube and follow me there. But laurijazz.com is where you start.
Awesome.
One day, Eric, my music going to be everywhere after Lord work for me. I'm going to be letting folk know. Y'all lucky Lord didn't give me the ability to really sing, because you wouldn't be able to shut me up. I'd be singing all the time. I'd be just, I just start singing in the middle of the service. That's what I want to be, that type of singer. I could just stand up and start singing and folk would be like, okay. That's what I want to be. So I want you to work with me on that, Lord.
I'm believing in you.
All right. So I think we've helped Ted today. This is great. This is great. Yeah. All right. So those of you who are watching and listening to us, don't forget to share the show.
Share the show.
Right. Don't keep this great information to yourself. And don't forget to go on to the podcasting platforms, the Apple Podcast, the Spotify. Make sure you subscribe. So that way you never miss an episode. We're up to 1.4 million total downloads.
Right.
So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. Again, thank you, Lori Williams, for everything that you've shared. This has been a great episode. And until next time, have a great one.
Thank you, guys.